TitleMatchNetwork.com.
Can you talk about your on and off again relationship with Eddie Gilbert, and what all about Eddie Gilbert? Thoughts on Eddie?
Yeah, I don't know if it was an on again or off again relationship with Eddie Gilbert. I think Eddie probably thought that it was an on again and off again relationship. I always liked Eddie Gilbert. Eddie was, of course, a second generation wrestler, son of Tommy Gilbert, and I and you would have to know the Gilbert family, and especially Tommy Gilbert. Everybody always liked Tommy, but he was just the word or the MO on Tommy was that he was moody, and Eddie and I think Doug and all of those, both the sons sort of got that trait from Tommy, and not to say that there's anything bad about it, but sometimes. Sometimes they'd be in a great mood and you could just joke around with them, and then other times you might say something that you had said to them the day before, and they'd get all mad and huffed up about it. And I think there was some kind of weird, and I don't even know if it's weird or whatever, but some kind of bit of a fixation in the fact that even though Eddie grew up watching wrestling, watching his dad wrestle. Once he got into wrestling, he instead of sort of following in his dad's footsteps and emulating his father, he tried to emulate me. It was like I was the wrestler that he sort of wanted to be like, and people had said that he like idolized the King and that sort of thing. And I often thought that it sort of got to a point at one time, and I even talked to Eddie about it, and he said, "Yeah, this would be a great idea for an angle," where he like didn't want to just be like me; he wanted to be me, and so we even started to do a program with that sort of thing. But I think that Eddie, if we ever had problems, I think the only real problems that we had was. I think Eddie wanted to be the booker, and of course did go on in other territories and be the booker, but he never really got the chance while Jerry and I was booking to book our territory, and I think that caused if there were off periods of our relationship, I think that is what caused him. He felt like that he should have the opportunity to book, and not saying that he shouldn't have had, but it just didn't. Jerry and I had a situation where Jerry would book for 6 months and I would book for 6 months. Jerry would book for 6 months. I would, and that way we pretty much stayed fresh and didn't get totally burned out. And I remember one time we tried Bill Dundee as a booker, and we just didn't. It's one of those things. Probably we were overly critical, but we didn't think it worked out. We didn't think it would work out to have Eddie do the booking, and so I think that may have caused whatever problems that we had.
What about Doug Gilbert? Did you guys have heat? Because I remember I read something that.
Yeah. I guess there was some heat there, and I'll have to think a minute to see who or how exactly that it got started. Somebody, and it may have involved. All I can say is definitely a miscommunication. I think now that I think about it, I think it involves Sid Vicious. In the old story of when one person says something to somebody, and by the time it gets told to this person, and then told to this person, and finally when it gets back to another person, the story has changed 3 or 4 times. Somehow, and I don't know if it went directly from Sid to Doug or from Sid to somebody and then to Doug. But anyway, somebody said something after Eddie had passed away. Somebody told Doug that I said to Sid that Eddie had died of a drug overdose, and I'll just will tell you I didn't say that. And to this day I don't really know what Eddie Gilbert died of. But when anybody asks me, just out of protectiveness of the business, I would tell people that Eddie died of a heart attack. whether he did or didn't or whatever. I did. I just wouldn't tell anybody because I think, it just casts a negative appearance on our business in general. And I think, we all, if you're in this business, you love it, and you don't want anything negative said about it. But anyway, somehow Doug got word that I called Eddie a drug head and said that he died of a drug overdose. And so he called my house and left this big rambling message, cussing and screaming and ranting and raving how he was going to kill me the next time he saw me and all of this kind of stuff. And so then I didn't hear or see Doug for a long time. And then one day, out of the clear blue, we passed each other in the airport. And, he'd said all of this stuff about how he wanted to kill me and everything. And then I'm walking down the airport, and he's walking the other way, and I saw him, and he goes, "Hi, King. Hi, Doug." And I didn't get killed or anything, so I thought, well, maybe he's cooled off. And then he would talk to Brian, Christopher a lot, and I think he, through Brian, said, he apologized and didn't mean to say all of those things, and wanted to come back to work. And so finally, we let him come back to wrestle there in Memphis. And after a couple of weeks on the show there, he went out. Of course, Memphis TV was always live. He went out on Memphis TV and just gave this big tirade, went off into left field, knocking me and saying all kind of bad things about me. And then Randy Hales was running the show at the time, and I was out of town. And afterwards, Randy, I think, fired him, and I haven't seen him or talked to him since. So I don't know. It's one of those things. Like I said, I've been in this business nearly 30 years, and you meet some really unique individuals. Everybody's got their own personality, and I can honestly say that and I may be different. A lot of people think that everybody and all of the guys are really close friends, and that's just at least in my case, and I think in most people's case, that's not the case. We are around each other a lot of times more so than you are with your own family, just because that's the nature of the job. But as far as being real close friends, that's just I have guys that I would say or call my friends, but as far as real close friends, I don't have that many that are in the business. So I can say, I don't really, have a great deal of affection for a lot of people in this business. But by the same token, there's not anybody out there that I could just say, oh, I hate that guy. I mean, I may have had run-ins with guys here and there, but it's the nature of this business, and you realize after a while, it's not that big a deal. If Doug Gilbert doesn't like me or whatever, it's Doug Gilbert's problem. I could care less.
TitleMatchNetwork.com